sing, O firstborn, thrice begotten, Bacchic king. The votive statuary group of Liber Pater with Pan and the Panther represents one of the most beautiful works of art found in Roman Dacia. This amazing sculpture was made of a fine marble in a Greek workshop from Phrygia in Asia Minor, most likely during the time of Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century AD. It was later brought to Dacia and placed within the sanctuary of Liber Pater in Apulum. The statuary group represents Liber Pater with the god Pan and the Panther. The god of vegetation is almost naked, wearing only his specific clothing, a goat skin called nebris, knotted on his right shoulder. On his head he has an ivy wreath with his fruits, korymboi. The god has a hairstyle with a bun at the back, from where two twisted and wavy strands of hair are drawn on the shoulders. He is delicate, of great serenity, with a dreamy gaze. The god rests with his left hand on a staff wrapped in ivy, called thyrsus. This is an important attribute of Dionysus, a symbol of power, but also of prosperity and fecundity. It is usually decorated with vine leaves, ribbons, ivy, and has a pine cone on top. These evergreen plants symbolize eternal life. Spreading the craft of wine growing, the god holds the cantharos in his right hand, an ancient vessel for drinking wine. The cantharos becomes itself the symbol of drinking, always present in Dionysian representations. His position is particularly elegant, with a weight on the right leg, and the left lower limb is flexed, with his heel raised off the ground as if the character was about to step forward. The central figure is the god. And then we look to the right and to the left to see the stories. The characters are portrayed in a joyful and cheerful pose. The god has fun offering wine to his pet, the panther. He is followed by Pan, who leads the triumphal procession, Thiassos. We are, therefore, in front of an exceptional work of art. It is not a work of any craftsman, but a product of superior quality addressed to a knowledgeable public. The sculpture was made of a single block of marble, proof of the sculptor's great skill. The position of the body shows a dynamic balance, a concept introduced by the Greek sculptor Polykleitos in the second half of the 5th century BC. Instead, the modeling is inspired by the style of Praxiteles of Athens in the mid-4th century BC, with juvenile shapes and soft skin, specific to this teenage god. Some parts of the sculpture were painted. After the discovery and then in the lab, during microscopic analysis, traces of red pigment appeared on the god's lips, on the crown's corymbs, and on the pine cone at the top of the thyrsos. Its leaves were painted bluish-green, and brown ochre pigment on the hair and possibly on the eyeballs. This amazing sculpture was found in Apulum, nowadays Alba Iulia, Romania. Apulum was the largest city of Roman province Dacia and a flourishing urban center in the 2nd and the 3rd centuries AD. It was a complex conurbation that included the Roman fortress of the 13th Gemina Legion, its surrounding civilian settlement, which became Municipium Septimium Apulense under Emperor Septimius Severus, the seat of the province's governors, Praetorium Consularis, 2 large necropolises, and the port town, near River Mureș, that became Municipium Aurelium Apulense under Marcus Aurelius, and later Colonia Aurelia Apulensis under Emperor Commodus at the end of the 2nd century AD. The statuary group of Liber Pater with Pan and the Panther was discovered in a sacred area in the north of the Colonia Aurelia Apulensis. The archaeological research at the sanctuary of Liber Pater from Apulum took place at first between 1989 and 1992 under the coordination of Professor Alexandru Diaconescu from Babeș-Bolyai University in Cluj-Napoca. A major restoration of the sanctuary took place at the end of the Severan dynasty and corresponds to an extension to the north. The walls from this phase are oriented after the new street plot of Colonia Aurelia Apulensis, related to the town's thriving period in the 3rd century AD. Several fragments of statuettes, reliefs, and inscriptions related to the god of wine and vegetation were discovered, and also this beautiful sculpture, broken into 34 smaller fragments. Dionysus Bacchus, Liber Pater, embodies the myth of indestructible life, the one born twice. The divine child was snatched before birth from the womb of his burning mother, the goddess Semele, and hidden by Zeus in his own thigh, from where he was born. According to the myth, the Titans devoured him after birth except for his heart, kept by Athena, so the god could be reincarnated. Dionysus was the gentle god who brought civilization to mankind, but he was also the disturbing deity of wine who induced unique mystical experiences. On the other hand, Liber Pater was originally an ancient Italic god of the Republican era, later assimilated to Bacchus Dionysus. Dionysus was followed by a loud group of semi-human beings: Pan, Silenus, Satyrs, Maenads, and some sacred animals such as the serpent, the bull, the goat, and the panther that formed the Bacchic procession. The Dionysian cult spread to Rome and Italy during the 2nd and 3rd centuries BC. The cult of Bacchus Dionysus included two aspects. On the one hand, the state religion expressed through popular feasts related to wine production and vegetation cycles, and on the other hand, the mysteries of the god, in which one had to be initiated. The consumption of alcohol and other euphoric substances, and the rhythmic music and dance induced a state of trance. Dionysus was first and foremost seen as Eleutheros, the liberator, for he unleashed long repressed energies and impulses. An important step was to digitize the sculpture representing Liber Pater by 3D scanning within the Pantheon 3D program co-funded by Romania's Administration of National Cultural Fund and implemented by the National Museum of Unification from Alba Iulia in 2018 and 2019. This scanner type may be used on various objects of different sizes. The precision of the system is of metrological order, down to 0.05 mm, the generated 3D patterns being used in applications of virtual museums and detailed analysis of research surfaces or high-precision measurements. Detailed information on the geometry, volume, color and texture of the surfaces of an object is collected, the result consisting in a graphic digital rendering of their three-dimensional physical structure, a virtual surrogate. Exceptional artifacts found in the sanctuary of Liber Pater, but also other Roman artworks related to the Dionysian cult at Apulum, were 3D digitized, the resulting models enriching the virtual collection of the National Museum of Unification from Alba Iulia.